high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Morrow, and with me today is Mike Walsh.
Yes, we're recording on a Friday. It's hot outside.
So humid.
I've been working basically all week nonstop, including the evenings. So I'm looking forward to Friday afternoon being I'm getting a little cool down period right now, even though it's hot outside. And I'm going to come down from a very beneficial, well-earned, active week. It's been a good week of getting stuff done this week. Very happy about that.
So I might be a little more tired to go with
Well,
I've already done one radio show today, my Better Together on domestic church media. And so this is my second one of the day. I don't know, I may have already used all my peppiness this morning.
Okay, that's fine.
So you might have to carry it.
You know what? I will carry the pep today. I'm more than happy to do that. I can pull that off.
We have an awesome guest, so I don't think it'll be a problem.
He is a nice guy. That is true. But actually, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about last night.
Oh.
Last night, you had the benefit of going to one of the great events in South Jersey, kind of an invitation-only event, but it's always one that's fun to go to, where you got to hang out with all the volunteers who supported the South Jersey Catholic Ministries Appeal. They have a nice thank you event every year. It was down at Tomasello Winery in
Hamilton.
Mm-hmm. And so how was that?
It was lovely. It was around from 6 to 8 or 5:30 to 8. And I believe that winery is owned by Knights of Columbus. So that was nice.
Maybe.
I
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but the look on your face made me doubt it, but I know it's true.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it with confidence. It's true. And so it was nice to go. There were quite a few people there, over 100, easy,
Cool.
probably more. And I got to meet a lot of different parishioners from parishes that I personally don't get out to a lot or I haven't seen in a while. Brigantine. That was very nice.
Cool.
Saw Father Junior Flores from Vineland. And so it was really good. Yeah, it was very nice to see. And then Stacy Napolitano, of course, the Director of Development, gave a nice speech. And then everybody really just had time to visit. That's what it was all about. It was giving volunteers the time to relax. So it was about 5-10 minute speech, and then everybody got to visit, and everybody was having a wonderful time.
You know, I'm happy to hear that because the South Jersey Catholic Ministries Appeal is the largest annual fundraiser we do in the diocese, and all dioceses have it. It usually goes by a different name of some kind, but it supports all the ministries of various departments and individual ministries and Catholic charities and all sorts of different groups within the diocese, and it raises millions of dollars a year. And you know, but it's not done, you know, like you don't send out some letters and have the money come back in. It's done by all these wonderful parish volunteers who have a hard job. It's not easy to ask for money, and it's not easy to keep the cogs of something like that moving. And I do think that we get into a bad habit of not thanking our volunteers from time to time. And let's face it, you know, no parish runs, you know, as much as it may seem like it sometimes, the priest isn't doing everything at the parish, and certainly the bishop isn't doing everything in the diocese. And it's good to thank our volunteers every now and again. So I'm very happy that that's something that Stacy has remained committed to, is thanking the folks who do this great work. And I know they don't ask for thanks. I know they don't do it for the thanks. That's not the point. The point is you need to thank the people who are doing such great work in your parish, school, ministry, diocese.
And I was talking to one of the volunteers because I was meeting a few of them, and you know, when people think about volunteering for your parish, you might think about certain ministries like a food pantry or the choir, but I think that sometimes the finance ministries can get overlooked. And so one of the gentlemen I talked to was there for 10 or 11 years already, and he had a financial background, so that helps with him being able to help volunteer for that. But as somebody, me personally, who literally was caught in her office today counting on my fingers, hats off to all of the volunteers who work with the finances.
Yes, you and I have a different gift that is not financial related.
It is not.
Which my accounting department knows on a regular basis as they're going, Mike, you need to send in this certain form with this certain thing signed off on.
As does my business manager.
So please. And that's why we love all of the finance people who are in our lives in one form or another, making sure that we don't go bankrupt. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We are both talking about our spouses.
Yes, exactly.
Because we are writers.
But I am glad I wasn't able to go. My son had a baseball game last night, but I'm very happy that you went and got to be a part of that. And I think it's good that we show face as the communications folks too, because a lot of what we do, even though the newspaper is not funded through the South Jersey Catholic Ministries Appeal, we certainly are a vessel for it, and we're very happy for all the great work that they do and all the wonderful content they send us for us to focus on, and the fact that stewardship is something that we focus on in the paper quite often, and a lot of those people who were there were people that we have spotlighted in years past. So that was nice as well. So well done. Thank you for showing the flag. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad that you're happy, because I took a lot of photos with the camera that you're going to need to tone for me.
Oh, I'm so lucky. That's nice.
You're looking around for the camera? The camera's still in my office. I have to download the photos.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I was going to use that camera today, and I didn't know it was missing. But then the thing I was going to use it for fell through. So I'm glad that's not an issue. All right. Yes. Sounds good. All right. And if anyone was wondering, yes, we are back in the vault again, the lovely vault, and we love being here. Mm-hmm. But yesterday, I got to attend something which I had never been invited to before. I got to attend an event for a long-standing organization in the city of Camden, in the Diocese of Camden, and the diocese in one way or another, and the parish in one way, the Cathedral parish in one way or another has been supporting it for years. Actually, a number of different parishes within the city of Camden have been supporting it, and it started out, in like 1957 as a simple parade for to really showcase the community of Puerto Ricans in Camden. And it's now turned into a months-long event that not only showcases the Puerto Rican culture in Camden, but also the great work of Camden in general. It's just a good showcase event for the city of Camden. I'm always very happy to be a part of it, and any time that they are so kind as to return the favor and highlight one of our own, which has happened. They have highlighted the rector of the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception in the city of Camden, our own vocations director, and frequent guest on this podcast, Father Adam Cichoski. So good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So it's great.
It was wonderful. So yesterday they were the event we went to, which was in Cathedral Hall, just literally underneath my office, where I got to listen to the fantastic music throughout the afternoon.
Yes, I could hear
in my office. It was great. As it was bleeding through the ceilings. It was a special event to honor distinguished citizens, right?
Yeah, so it's the seniors of our community, and we had a lot of parishioners, a lot of people from the city that were there. Mayor Karstoffen came over and quickly gave some remarks before he had to leave. So he had a busy day yesterday, but it was just great to, again, see so many people come out and to enjoy some good Puerto Rican food. Mm-hmm. So we had some pernil, some arroz con dulces. So we had a lot of good things that were there, and good music, but good people. I think that was the main thing, is just to see the great joy and the people, especially from our parish, that were there to enjoy it. And like you said, to thank them, and it's an amazing history that they have in the city. The people from Puerto Rico that came, well over 60 years ago, and then build up a community, build up families, build up so many different things. And it's just amazing to hear their stories. So they have a lot of good stories to tell. And it's I don't know if I said it was the Parada San Juan Bautista, the patron saint of Puerto Rico, St. John the Baptist. Also, now the irony is, before I go too much further, you yourself have a special role this year in the Parada, because you are essentially the godfather of the parade this year? The padrino,
yeah. The padrino.
So, I have a little place of honor during some of the different things going on, and especially the day of the parade on the 30th. So I'll be with another one of our parishioners is the madrina, Denise Diaz. So we'll be up there just, again, representing the parish, but also, the city as well. So it's just a great opportunity, and one I never thought I never imagined. And we were joking a little bit before about coming from Franklinville and Mike's from Clayton. If I would have thought, 10 years ago, I'd be in San Juan Bautista Parada. I don't know if that I would have been like, yeah, right. That sounds good. But now to be in it in such an amazing way is awesome.
Yes, I have to imagine you're one of the few Polish people who have had this honor given to you. But it is a great honor, and it is a wonderful event, and it's not just the parade any longer. There's also a festival that comes after it. Yeah. There's a major gala that precedes it. Mm-hmm. There's a number of other events that are tied to it throughout the year that really showcase, the great work of the Puerto Rican communities in Camden.
Yeah, and to see, they started out Benson Street, and then merged into what is now was Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which was the Italian parish, became Our Lady of Fatima, and that was really one of the first, if not the first, Hispanic kind of regional parishes, and it was a key to the neighborhood as well as Holy Name and the cathedral itself now. It was just a amazing history, and Wanda Garcia, who's the president of La Parada de San Juan Bautista, is a parishioner involved in the parish, but was involved in the parade since probably even before she was born. And we talked a little bit about seeing this picture of her. I think she was 6 or 7 years old with now the vice president, Juan, and how cool that is. And then to see, and that there's a picture at the historical center here in Camden of their parents, and just to see the way, again, 1957, the dress, to see the guys smoking the cigarettes, and it's just one of the nicest pictures. It's really cool looking to see the beautiful suits, the dresses that they have. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and the parade started because in the 50s, there was a lot of anti-Puerto Rican sentiment, and even within our own faith community, there was, as what happens anytime new immigrants come. That was something that was problematic. That I was talking to Juan the other day, and he was talking about how one of the issues related to it was you weren't allowed to fly the Puerto Rican flag because it was considered because of the way the politics was working out at that time, it had a separatist connotation that, Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States, and there was this feeling that showcasing the flag was showing support to the independence movement. So that was quashed for a number of years. But nowadays, I can't cross the street in Camden without seeing a Jeep coming by with a Puerto Rican flag hanging from the mirror. And I love that. I genuinely love it. As a matter of fact, that's one of the beauties of working right next to the cathedral is there are a number of people of Puerto Rican descent that come to the cathedral and stuff like that. And that's one of the beauties, something I learned when working for the diocese is that, we often talk about Latinos with broad brushes, but the truth of the matter is they're intensely devoted to their own culture. So, a Dominican is not a Puerto Rican, is not a Mexican, is not a Colombian, is not, and so on and so forth. And I love seeing sort of that cultural pride that comes through.
Yeah, and you see it in amazing ways with our parishioners, and we're really blessed, and we have a good community of those original that moved into Camden all those years ago, and really built things up and just worked hard, raised a family, and participated in a lot of things in the community. But just we're involved in a lot of different things going on throughout the history of the city. So it really is it's just interesting once you start to talk to them and just to see. And that's always the thing I always ask is, how did you end up in Camden? And, what was the story? And a lot of them had family here. A lot of them were working different places in the city where it just became like a little bit of a hub where a lot of people were coming. But just to hear stories and being removed from it probably 2 or 3 generations, where my great-grandparents, one of them came over from Poland and on the other side came over from Germany, and they had the similar story where first the husband came over and then eventually worked, saved up, got a place, and then brought the rest of the family over. Same thing with a lot of our families from Puerto Rico. It was people came over to work, and then just ended up settling and then eventually bringing everybody over. Sometimes you talk to families and, they come over, and back then, most were traveling by boat, most, maybe a few here or there for planes, but coming over pregnant. And I can't imagine that going all that way, even on a plane, and just some of them, were maybe a month or 2 away from delivering, where it was just like trying to not remove yourself, but to leave everything that language, culture, to come to a new place, a new area that probably most of them have never even seen before if they had never visited. And then to begin again is just, just really amazing. I mean, those are the stories that really make you feel proud of where you're from and just how you ended up here. It's just crazy to think about it.
I don't believe that you realize how you have wandered into the narrative of today's podcast. It's because you yourself are very much an immigrant. So you and I, so we were talking about this is, so we both sort of grew up in deep South Jersey together. The city of Camden was considered North Jersey to me. And
this is a big city.
This is a big city, yeah. I mean,
you talk to anybody and they're like, well, it's just Camden.
Hey,
you see the size of these buildings out here?
That's right.
You were going into town when you went to Camden?
Let's see. When I was growing up, the size of my town was, I don't know, under 2,500 people, probably.
What?
Under 5,000 people. Yeah, I came from a very small town, and you came from a smaller town, larger geographic area, but even a smaller town.
Wow.
I grew up in a kind of a rural area. You grew up in a very rural area, and this is not someplace So the reason you're here is because you are now 2 years into your time as the rector of Camden, and I wanted to ask you. I think yours was the first ordination I attended as a director of communications. Yours and Father Nevitt, right? You guys were ordained together.
No, he was a year behind me.
So he was a year behind you. I'm sorry. So I think yours was the first, and it's kind of interesting that now here you are as the rector of Camden for 2 years, having come from very much not someplace that has a huge ethnic diversity.
Yeah.
We did not grow up in that kind of area.
Yeah.
All of my friends in high school and grade school were all white, and it was just the nature of things. And I didn't pick up a second language until really I went to college and started meeting new people. So as someone who sort of grew up in that same kind of background, what was it like coming to Camden and now becoming the rector of the Bishop's Church?
Yeah, so, I had first started coming to Camden a little bit as director of vocation. So I got to know a little bit of this area, actually these couple blocks, and how to get in and out of Camden. But now I'm, still settling in, and, I think it takes a while just to get used to everything. And each day is different. So we have a lot of different things going on, but it really is an interesting place, and you're just rich in history. And I don't think I ever realized that before, of how, over the years, how much the city has changed. But just to hear, again, stories from our Polish community, from people who lived in even the Irish sections. So, we have what used to be about 5 parishes all combined into one with two open churches, Cathedral and St. Joseph's Polish, which is another really hidden gem, where it's just this beautiful church. And it's something that continues to share in their own culture, and that's the other thing. It's like you're a part of something bigger than you ever imagined, of being able to see Puerto Rican culture, Dominican culture, Polish culture. There's just a lot of different things that happen that, I've never first imagined in Camden, but now imagine myself kind of being in the midst of. It's interesting. It's just a reminder of just how God has a plan, and, when we follow it and when we're open to that Holy Spirit that leads us, He does put us where we need to be. It doesn't mean it's an easy situation, but He does give us the grace and the people we need too. And I think that's the real thing that I've learned is depending on others and being able to ask of things, to ask for help, and I think that's one of the great gifts of being here in the city is, first that I have any question about business or any question about the offices are right here or communications, I can come over, and it just kind of makes things a little bit easier where I can ask those questions that I don't know, and I don't know a lot, and they knew that right off the bat, but they are patient and they work well, and just I've learned a lot, from many different people and many different things, and I think that's the good thing about being in the city is that you encounter a lot of different people and a lot of different just groups and things that you really don't see too often in other places. So.
Yeah.
And speaking about being in a city, I know just a couple of weeks ago for the Feast of Corpus Christi, your parish, as well as Sacred Heart and St. Joseph Pro Cathedral, I believe, again, for the second year combined for the Eucharistic Pilgrimage Walk?
Yeah, so Father Vince Guest at Sacred Heart had this great idea last year of putting together a walk to go through Camden, just to bring the healing presence of Christ. And, it started from Sacred Heart right about 1 o'clock, 1:15, and came down to our parish, to the cathedral, where we met him about 2 o'clock, and it's a long walk and they go right down Broadway. But again, that's where Christ needs to be in the midst of all that. And just Father Vince, again, had a great vision and a great idea of putting all that together. And just really, again, that faith and that hope in the Lord is something so great and something that he radiates in a lot of ways. So to bring that to us, and then a little bit of time where we had some songs and some adoration, and then they walked to St. Joe's Pro, so right up Federal Street. And we're thankful. I mean, all that happens with, of course, Father Vince is one of the main ones kind of putting it together. And the Camden City Police are just awesome, in the way that they handle things and the way that they're always very supportive of the church. And they do a lot of good work with us and for us. So we're very thankful for all their help. And we see them throughout the day. We see them on, throughout the city. And we're just grateful for all their support and help, too.
Yeah, because it's like 3.5 mile walk, I believe, or at least 3 miles.
Yeah, so I think it's a little over a mile to come from Sacred Heart to our place, and then probably a little bit over a mile to get there. So probably by the end of it, about 3 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and you talked about the Camden City Police. Famously, in years past when I was growing up, and not too long ago, Camden was considered the murder capital of the world. Certainly the United States. It was someplace that nobody would go into, and the Camden City Police had a bit of a reputation themselves. And then their former chief came in, an alumnus of Gloucester Catholic High School in my class of 1990, guy by the name of Chief Scott Thompson. And really, through him and listening to his people, listening to the boots on the ground, and listening to the community, really changed the policing in the city of Camden to being far more community-focused. Matter of fact, the entire system of the police, it no longer was a city force, but it was now a county force, and they were able to make a lot of changes in the ranks of the officers, but really make a change in focus on how they interacted with the community, and it has led to incredible drops in crime rate. Certainly, it's an urban city, so there's still crime. It's not suggest there isn't crime, and the things to continue to work towards. But that community focus, I think, has sowed a lot of seeds, a lot of good seeds over the last 20 years that have really helped the city to get on that path of change. And I've worked in the city of Camden for most of my career in one form or another. And I have to say, I'm very comfortable with the people. The people here are, that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years have been fantastic. When I started in Camden, I was more in the African American population, so it was a different part of Camden. And at that time, I was working in halfway houses and homeless shelters and substance abuse areas. And, I got to know a lot of folks, and it was just, they're just such wonderful human beings that had to put up with, a lot of violence and a lot of difficulty, but also had such a steadfastness and desire for change and desire to look out for their communities. I've never second-guessed a day I've ever worked in the city of Camden. I was always very happy to be a part of it, which is why I was so pleased that after 2 years of being the rector in the cathedral, you were given the honor of being the padrino for the parade, which I don't know if we actually said when the date of the parade is.
I want to get everybody this parade.
I know. What is the 30th?
And the time. Yeah. And the place.
Yeah, well, it's downtown Camden.
It's downtown Camden. I think around 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think the festival goes from. I think the parade runs into the festival, and the festival I think goes from 3 to 8. Okay. So, but if they have a wonderful website, feel free to check it out on the website for more details, and as well as all the other events that take place surrounding the parade. But it's if you go to the San Juan Bautista, Parada San Juan Bautista. website, which I think is
sjbp.org.
sjbp.org. Thank you very much.
No, it's perfect timing right there.
Right off the
perfect timing.
Wow, man. That's why he's both the rector and the godfather of the parade.
What are your responsibilities in the parade as the godfather?
Hopefully just to look good and to wave to people. So I don't know if I'll do the first part, but I'll definitely do the second. So on Sunday, June 30th at 12 p.m. will be the parade. So we invite you to be there. And so you can come to the 8:30 Mass at the Cathedral, and then right afterwards you can walk down right on 7th and Elm Street to Riverside Drive. So they'll be doing that.
It's fun. It gets lots of coverage. The media always comes out for it. It's a good fun time. A lot of laughing, a lot of joy, a lot of great dancing, a lot of great music, and then the festival has a lot of great food, a lot of great music.
Yeah, and then that'll begin right after the parade from 3 to about 8. They'll have the concert.
And that'll be in Wiggins Park.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so a lot of good help. I mean, a lot of the committee members are parishioners, so, just to thank them, Carlos and Carmen and all those who make it possible. I mean, they put a lot of work into it each year, and it's just something that's very close to them and very dear to them because they grew up with it and something that they want to continue to celebrate and continue to pass on for many generations. But like you said, it's a whole month of events. So it started off, they have a Mass usually the first Sunday of June at the Cathedral. They come to our 11:30 Spanish Mass, and they're very generous to our parish as well. So we thank them for their support. And then usually that following day they do a flag raising, where again you would see the importance of the culture and just how special that flag is to them. So I mean, to see it everywhere, there's a great meaning to it, and it's something that we're blessed to be a part of. So Father Steve Robbins was there as parochial vicar. He did the blessing, and his sister actually sang the national anthem too for it. So it was really cool.
That's very nice.
And then they have the national anthem of Puerto Rico, which is another beautiful hymn or another beautiful song, which kind of captures the beauty of that island, the beauty of the culture. And then they do a distinguished citizens banquet that we had yesterday, which is really cool, where they just honor all those that have really lived their lives here in the city, but also have given so much work to their family, to their community, to our parish, and so we're trying to say thank you for all their help. And then it'll continue with they have a gala coming up next week, which will be fun to be a part of, and then it ends with the big parade. So it'll be cool to be, and it'll be my first time. Usually we're in the middle of Mass at that point, and sometimes we're short-handed, so covering the Spanish Mass is a little hard. Actually, last year, I only remember it because that's when the glass door got broken.
Oh, right.
And I remember me and Victor out there putting the plywood onto the door to cover up, and all the Jeeps are coming by with the Puerto Rican flag, and we're like, well, there goes the parade.
Oh.
That's funny. Well, that's what happens when you're the rector. You have
so
sometimes you got to deal with glass breaking.
So.
There is literally nothing you can't do, I'm pretty sure. Your passion tours. I ran into you yesterday in the parking lot at 8 a.m. because you were on your way out to a Mass, I think, for school.
For Holy Name, because they're graduating today.
For Holy Name.
Yeah.
Then I see on social media what you were speaking about earlier, and how you were with the festivities. And then I see you again last night, all the way in Hamilton at the development event. And I thought, I've seen Father Adam a lot today. I know I'm going to see him on Friday. I'm going to leave the poor man alone. I don't even think I may have waved. I don't know, because I didn't want to bother you.
I've been lucky with people talking to me, because you came over for the pictures, and that's when somebody needed to talk to me, and I was talking to them while you're taking pictures.
Nice.
And at this banquet, or at the luncheon yesterday, they pull you up to dance, and if one thing about me, it's I'm an awful dancer, and I'm getting ready to embarrass myself, and then somebody comes up, oh, Father, I need to talk to you for a second.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I talked to them for a little bit, and
well timed.
By the time we got done, it was over. The dancing part.
Yeah,
anyway.
Right.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. And yes, to look at you, I would not think you much of a dancer, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I
definitely need
wonderful
practice.
skills.
So I need to get practice in before this.
Yeah, I'm sure that you will.
2 weeks.
Because that's going to be
You can
tough.
do it.
Just make sure to wear the summer whites while you're down there. It's going to be hot. I don't need you fainting in the middle of that parade. But I do want to get back to talk to you a little bit about your time as the rector. I guess the first question we should probably ask, just in case anybody's wondering, what is a rector? Because you're kind of a pastor, but that's not exactly what you are.
Yeah, I always think of it kind of an administrator. So the bishop is always the pastor of the Cathedral. That's his home church and his church that he's in. So I kind of do everything in his name, almost like a pastor.
Yeah.
But just kind of keep an eye on things and just kind of roll with things there. And, one of the, it kind of delegated in that sense. So it's really an interesting role. And it just sounds nice to be a rector.
It
and
does.
Especially when you go up to visit the other seminaries and you can say, oh, this is a rector's meeting, when you're talking with that.
And there will be no dancing, probably,
that's right?
right?
No dancing
at the rector's meetings.
But it's just an interesting title, I guess, or just I always tell people administrator, because when you say rector, it's like, oh, this guy might be important. It's like, no. Just,
no. I've seen for your work in the community alone, I believe the title is appropriate, because you've been doing great with that, and you're always out and about in the community, which is always the first sign of a good pastor, and you really do go out to people, and I see people come up to you all the time. That's always another good sign. And actually, you deserve a lot of credit for your dedication to, really working on your second language skills, because, you've really made it, you've really done a great job of really picking up, your Spanish and talking quite fluently when you're working with
I wish.
I know it's not fluent, but you're doing a good job of doing it better than me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and I always say I have good days and bad days. So there are days where things make sense and other days where it's just like, people are like, what is he saying? So I have to say it in English afterwards, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, okay, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
And thankfully, again, people behind the scenes, our office staff, so Mariani is very good at making sure, because, you have meetings with people and they're important meetings, and it's like you want to catch everything that they're saying. So she'll sit in on some of them and just kind of make sure, I'm not saying yes to something that's impossible or yes to something that I'm, not sure about what they're asking. So she's really good, again, at explaining and just kind of helping in so many ways. So Mariani Zayas, who's in our office, also Puerto Rican, so a proud, member of our parish and choir. So it's a great, just a reminder of how we need to work together.
Yeah.
And that's something that takes a lot of help. And thankfully, Father Steve, too, is probably more fluent than I am. And he speaks very clear. He'd been Colombia right after, just like I went to Mexico. But he worked hard in Colombia. So I was spoiled by the sisters I was with, really. But he was in a parish that really worked him 7 days a week. So he kind of dove right into everything.
Got immersed in it.
Yeah.
That is the way to do it.
Right.
That immersion is the way to go when it comes to that stuff. Oh, shoot. Just remembered I forgot to ask my boss about something. It's Spanish. Well, don't worry about it. Anyway, sorry, my mind trailed there for a moment. It's Friday.
It's very humid.
It's very humid. It's kind
vault.
of the vault is very warm right now.
Yes.
Even I'm beginning to notice that. Your time as a rector has been very beneficial, and your dedication to learning a language has been very beneficial. What's it like been sort of living in Camden? Because you're a resident here.
Yeah, the first couple weeks I think were probably the toughest, and I'm always very thankful for Brother Mickey McGrath, who still lives with us. So he's an oblate of St. Francis de Sales, was here for I think 15 years before. So I lived with Father Matt Hilliard, Father Mike McHugh, Father John Fisher, who was the last rector, and just really he kind of helped. I said, I don't know if I would have stayed those last couple of weeks if it was just me there. I said, he really kind of put everything in perspective. This is how you handle these situations. And he still does. He's such a good source of advice and just a good man of prayer. And especially we always talk about St. Francis de Sales. So I was going to tell him that you got the picture here.
Yeah.
The patron of journalists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, introduction to the devout life is a common theme of our talks. And, it's just, again, a good help and a good support. He really knows the city and he knows the people that come, and just a good sense of humor. So, he puts up with me and Father Steve. But we have a good community there. And so I'm just very thankful and just kind of getting used to, living in the city. Parallel parking again was, big challenge.
We don't really need to worry about that where we're from. Just park under a tree somewhere.
That's right. You pull into the grass.
That's right.
And now it's like, oh man, I could get a ticket. I can't park here because it's Friday. I can't park there. Where it's just like, you just kind of take it in a risk sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it was funny last week. Pull up for an event at Holy Name, and pull up, and as soon as I pull up, there's the meter maid is walking through, and the security guard who was working at Holy Name was out there, and all these parents come running out, and he goes, "Oh, everybody's here." He goes, "All right, I won't write any tickets, so you're good to go." So I was like, "All right." So I pulled in right at the right time, right place.
Oh, that's funny. Well, hey, listen, there's a reason why in the city of Camden, almost all of our priests have a pastor or priest card on their on their cards, because that really does help sometimes, because it's it can be tricky. But you are here on business, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. One of the things that is important for any church, any parish, is having good support staff, and you do have great support staff. I mean, I've certainly gone to Mary Annie plenty of times over the years and asked for some advice on some things, or she'll give you a tip off to something that's coming down.
And she's good with knowing who's in the community and knowing who to talk to, who to ask for things. So she's just a great source of information. And Naga, coming from St. Joe's Polish, again, is a good introduction to that community and someone who knows it. And just Victor and Rita, they've been in the city for years, and just great stories, that they live with. And Mr. Clarence too, who works part-time for us, is someone that lives in the city, and again, they know kind of the normal way of life, I guess, or the day-to-day, things that happen that would shock us, where it's like, what the heck are they talking about? And then it's like, for them, it's no problem. There's never any worry. There's never any, and they make do with so much, where they can fix things. They can really just get things patched up, good to go. And without even this window, that glass window, I remember thinking what are we going to do? We got a huge glass that's broken. And me and Victor knew exactly what to buy. Boom, it was up.
Yeah.
Within
no time.
Yeah, 30 minutes. I just kind of looked, and just amazing again. The work that they do, and just how gifted and talented they are.
Yeah.
They're
That's
so
wonderful
great.
to hear. Yeah.
So, listeners, the pastoral center where we are shares the parking lot with the cathedral, and there are many times when we come into work, there might be a funeral going on at the cathedral, and there's nowhere to park in the parking lot. And a couple of weeks ago, that happened, and I had nowhere to park, so I was like, okay, I'll find somewhere. And Victor helped me find a spot. He moved some things around to help me find a spot. And then I said, I don't think I can park here. I don't think this is legal. Kind of what you were speaking about a minute ago with the meter maids. And he's like, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I said, all right. So fast forward, at the end of the day, I come out, and there's a piece of paper on my windshield, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it turns out it was a handwritten ticket from Victor.
That's awesome.
I was dying. And I knew it was him immediately, and I couldn't wait to see him the next day.
Yeah.
As soon as I drove in, I just threw it out the window and so we still laugh about that to this day.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Now, we've been talking about walking here, and we talked about the Corpus Christi procession, and we talked about you're taking part in the Parada. But you actually just recently walked 60 miles as well.
Yeah, and I'm just hearing about this. What?
Yeah, I know. So, he doesn't tell the newspaper these really interesting things that might be good to put in the paper with a nice photograph of his work.
Look, I don't want Father Adam to start dodging me, so I can't pick him on about everything. But this sounds good. So
So what were you doing in Kansas strolling around?
It was an amazing experience. So Father Emil Kapaun, who was an army chaplain, who was originally a parish priest, and during the Second World War entered the army. They saw the need for the service that he wanted to serve the men who were going off to war. Ended up in, I think it was Burma, and then came back and was assigned to his home parish, which is always tough for a priest. So he was a young priest. They called it Bohemia, but Czechoslovakian, that kind of culture. Mm-hmm. So he knew the language, but now he was ministering to people who really raised him, and that was just a tough thing for him. And ended up asking to go back into the army, and got permission, and started off local, and then ended up as the Korean War started, sent to Korea, and that's where ultimately he just served his men with all of his heart, and just very brave. And I have a couple pictures of him in my office, and one is holding a pipe that got shot out of his mouth, and I think it happened twice. So he had these broken pipes that he lost. But then eventually, as the war started to sway the other way, when China got involved, and next thing you know, they're kind of pushing us back. That he gets not surrounded, but so much that they're pushing him, and he's with the wounded, and instead of leaving them, he stays to help them, and they end up going on this forced march to a prisoner of war camp. That's terrible conditions, and it changes hands a little bit, but he just kind of, his health deteriorates. But he's a guy. There's actually a cool little video from probably the late 50s. They call it The Good Thief, because he was famous and was one of the best guys that would steal food, that would steal things that they needed, bring it back to the men who were dying and who were sick. And so ends up dying in this prisoner of war camp, and he gets buried in this mass grave. And so I read this story of a shepherd with combat boots before even entering the seminary. And I really liked the story, just liked the guy, and I had wanted to be in the Army before. And then as I went through, just kind of this devotion grew, and I had a American Catholicism class, and I remember doing a report on him, and that's what led me to kind of looking him up more. And he had a couple books, but then there's this website dedicated to his cause for hopefully one day being a saint. And that's where I found out that they had, it was called the Kapaun Walk before, and now they call it the Kansas Camino. So it started off 15 years ago, I think. So I'm probably wrong on that, but around that. And it was just a group of priests from Wichita who were doing it to honor Father Kapaun, who's like a hometown hero. So if you're in the Diocese of Wichita, it's really something common that you hear about. For us in the East Coast, it's not too prevalent. And then they were doing 60 miles in 3 days. So it's a lot.
Wow, that's
probably
a lot.
about 20 days or 20 miles a day that they were walking. And they would walk from Wichita to Pilsen, where his church where he was baptized, church where he had his first mass, church where his family lived, was part of the community, farming community there. And so over the years, it just kind of grew, more and more people. And I had thought about it, and it was just hard because it's, you're walking, you're camping out, and thankfully they carry your tent and everything for you. You just carry your day pack. But it was such an awesome experience. So 2 years ago I went, and didn't know what to expect. And one of our priests, Father John March, was one that was encouraged. He goes, "Oh, you got to try it." And so I signed up, and I think they were like, "Whoa, who's this guy from Jersey coming?" And I'm probably one of the farthest ones. But at that time, there was somebody from Boston. There's a men's group that comes each year from Maryland. And they come faithfully each year as a group and walk together. So it was really cool. But I met a lot of good families, and it's awesome. Like I walked out went out there not knowing what to expect, but just see these young families. And I mean, you see kids in strollers, you see kids 5, 6, 7 years old that are making this walk, that are doing this walk with their families together, and there's about a little over 250 people this year. But I met a really nice family. His name is Vang, and he hosted me when I flew in, and then hosted me when I was getting ready to leave. So spent the night at his place, his family's place, and then walked with him. And he's a guy that kind of recruits a lot of people, encourages people to come. And, it was just awesome. So it was very good and a lot different than the first year. I really didn't know, I just kind of dressed casually just so I didn't get sunburned. This year I did the same, but I had short sleeve clerical shirts. So this way, people knew I was a priest, and I could hear confessions, celebrated Mass each day, concelebrated Mass each day. And there were 5 priests on this trip too. And actually the bishop from Lincoln did a day. So 17 miles he walked. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just it was an awesome experience. So.
Did you train at all to
a little
to do
bit?
this?
So I was walking actually in Franklinville, this elephant swamp grass trail. Did you ever walk that?
Actually, my son tomorrow is taking part at an Eagle Scout project to clean up and remark the elephant. What is it again?
Elephant Swamp
Park. Yeah,
grass trail or something.
Yeah, I have been on it, and it's a lovely straight line.
Yeah, that's why I love it. So it's 4.5.
Have you ever found the elephant?
No, I haven't. Yeah,
but you know the history of it, though, right?
Yeah, where it ran into. It was a circus.
There was a circus in town, and an elephant got away, and it's believed that the elephant was somewhere in the swamp, but they've never found it, and they've never been able to find the bones. But you can't just hide an elephant. So the assumption is the elephant is still in the swamp. So if you see the ghosts of the elephant, you gotta let people know.
But it's a straight 4.5.
Yeah, just
miles,
straight line.
And then I would walk back. So it was about 9 miles I would do each week. And that's how Kansas is pretty much. You get straight
Yeah,
walks.
straight, flat.
You're walking through farmlands. You're walking through little parts of towns, but it's just awesome the way that it's organized. They've been doing it for years, so you meet people along the way, which is cool. So you stop at different houses that let you camp out in front of in their farm pretty much. So you're like in their yard camping out. They'll cook, they'll have a dinner provided.
It's just Kansas Camino.
It's really awesome.
Kansas
Like
Camino.
not, I always say that the regular Camino, you're passing like all these cantinas. You can get a nice cold beer on the way while you're walking. Here, there's not so much that you see a lot of fields, but it's the people that you meet that are just amazing. And you're just talking with people. And first day you walk about 23 miles. And you're pretty sore by the end of it. And then the next day, it kind of lessens. So it's about 17. And then the last day is 8, where you actually walk into the church. So I have to send you the video. When you walk in, they're like clapping you in. It's really cool. But to see all these pilgrims, it's awesome. And the funny thing was, a lot of them remembered me. Like you kind of grow, and it's like, I wonder how they'll, and like, hey, Father, how's it going? So it was really cool just to see and for myself to remember people. But it was I really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those things, like, at night you're, like, sleeping and, like, your back's killing you, your legs are killing you. It's like, why the heck did I sign up for this? Like, this is awful. But then by the end of it, it's like, oh, man, this is why I did it. There's a lot of grace that you get from it and a lot of prayers, but just a lot of good people. It's a shot in the arm just to see these young families and people out there making, living their faith. So it's a lot of veterans that come out.
I bet, yeah.
And his remains were just returned the first time I went. So they're in the Cathedral of Wichita. They had found them in Korea and transferred them back. But, again, with these people you meet that are in the book that got turned into the Vatican. Mm-hmm. So people that experience miracles, people that experience different things. So it's really cool just to see. I mean, you read about these people in the books, and then you're, like, looking, and that's the person talking to you. Like,
when was it? May?
It's the end of, it's usually right after Memorial Day. So it was May, I think it flew out May 29th, and it started May 30th. And then it went through June 2nd. So I missed the Corpus Christi procession here. Mm-hmm. But we did have a small one there. So we walked through the church, and that was like, you finished all these miles, and you're just tired, and you're sitting there like, all right, we're going to have a procession. It's like, oh, man. But it was great, walk through the church, and everybody's kind of beat up that day.
Yeah.
And as someone who grew up in Texas, that is not a cool part of the, like temperature-wise, is not cool. Yeah. So I can only imagine what kind of weather you encountered.
Yeah, the first day was beautiful. It was overcast, 80 degrees, and then it started to rain, and then we had some wind. And you walk through everything as long as it's not lightning. But I have a good story about that too, and I don't want to jeopardize the time, but it's amazing again.
We got
we got time.
Yeah.
So the first time, we're walking and it's pouring rain, and they said, as long as there's no thunder or lightning. So it started the thunder and lightning. So I said, well, we got to go find shelter. And we had just passed, back there, over there you're walking like miles, and you don't see any houses or anything. It's just these fields. So we passed the house about a mile and a half back, 2 houses across from each other. So they have a great system of water trucks. So they have like these trucks, and it's just this huge thing of water that you're just, every couple miles you stop. You bring thing of granola bar and a thing of fruit. Each person, you're assigned certain things to bring, and then they have these things that they share with you throughout. So you're eating constantly granola, you're eating these healthy things, drinking water the whole time. So we go back, and they drive ahead of us to see if we can shelter us in. And, again, these people really don't know who we are, but now all of a sudden they're being asked to host about 100 people each, that they split up. So they opened their barns, opened their carports. So I was stuck in a barn, and we were there for about an hour, until everything kind of subsided. Then we had to walk through the mud, which is hard. But it was just cool to see. Like, I can't imagine somebody knocking on them and be like, oh, by the way, you're going to have 100 people in your yard soon. Would it be all right if they sheltered somewhere? And then we're like, yeah. And they're moving their cars, moving the things that they need to do to get more space. So it was really interesting just to see that aspect of it, and just to see how welcoming, and just, again, a different side of things.
That is lovely.
You had a little basic training, it sounds like. The mud. All the walking in the mud, in the weather. You had a little basic training
not
there.
Not as bad. You hear other stories from people that were in the Army, people that, and Vietnam veterans that were there, and just the mud that they trekked through is nothing compared to what we did. It was very... we're mad that our shoes are getting stuck, Right. It's just like, well, imagine that with people shooting at you. And it's like, okay, fair enough, It's not
very
bad.
worried that maybe we have an Army recruiter listening to this podcast and going, I gotta reach out to
Kansas.
to Father Cichoski.
Oh, or that.
He's like, oh, wait, he's got this interest? And he already said he had an interest? I'm like, oh, boy. Yeah, they're always looking for chaplains.
They are hurting in the military for chaplains,
But
absolutely, especially Catholic chaplains.
Oh, yeah, and it's a tough, again, you feel bad because the bishops... It's hard for them to make a decision like that. To say, well, we're already shorthanded, and we're just going to make ourselves even shorter by giving you 6 years, and it's
not easy.
Yeah, so we pray for an increase in all vocation, but especially chaplains.
Yeah, they really need it. That being said, I have a ton of deacons I can probably give them, but we're a little short supply on priests, so got to work on that a little bit. But hey, that's your job. So get it's.
So keep doing these walks.
Hey,
and,
listen, the head of the USCCB is the Archbishop for Military Services, I think, and
Yep.
And our new coadjutor bishop is hanging out with him right now, and he had the benefit of meeting you recently. So.
Oh yeah. So actually, it was tough because we had a funeral scheduled that day, actually at the Cathedral for 10 a.m. So thankfully the family was open and we moved it to our other church. So I missed the first part of it, and I came at the end. But was able to eat lunch with them, and just to, just seems just like a nice guy. And again, people are sending me things. They've Googled him, and people that knew him from the Emmanuel community. Just a lot of good things that he's a part of as well. So I think he'll be, just a good, especially in this year as he's kind of learning and transitioning, to that role. Just to have Bishop Sullivan, who, again, the heart of a pastor. He just went to everything and was, poured himself out, right, as St. Paul says, as a libation. And I think that's what he's done in so many ways, where he's just, you see his calendar more than I do, where it's just everywhere, that he tries to be a part of it, and just loves it, loves his priesthood and loves his ministry.
Yeah, and Father Williams, or Bishop Williams rather, does seem to be cut from the same cloth in that regard. So I suspect that when that changeover does happen in mid-March, we won't notice too much of a difference. Still going to get used to his pleasant behavior or pleasant demeanor, but I'll work on that. Well, Midwest nice, all that kind of thing. Not that Bishop Sullivan's a pleasant.
The Midwest,
There's Bronx nice, and then there's Midwest nice. I've gotten very used to Bronx nice, so I'm gonna have to get used to Midwest nice. Although Bishop Williams is on a podcast this weekend that is going to be released later, and I'm looking forward to listening to that and seeing, because it's all about his move, not his move, but his wrapping up his time in Minneapolis.
The announcement.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see what he has to say.
He'd be a good guest too. Is that one of the plans?
We're hoping.
Oh, I'm heck with that. I'm planning on giving him his own podcast.
See?
He doesn't need to be on ours. If he wants it, he can have it. So, videocast, podcast. I believe there's someone at this table. Actually, there's two people at this table that I have offered YouTube shows to. One took me up on it briefly, and the other one still hasn't produced what I asked her to produce. But I think two people at this table should have their own thing. So get on that, would you please? Vocations.
Yeah, we need to do a
news check.
TV studio or something here.
Yes.
Father Bishop Sullivan gave me permission to create a studio. The people who actually control the purse have not given me the money yet. But Bishop Sullivan said I could make a studio.
He said I could do it.
He said I could. But
all I need to do is just push a button. Anything else is more complicated than I could do.
You literally saw how I started the podcast. I literally pushed a button. I'm sorry, I pushed two buttons. The one for the timer and one for hit record. So don't worry, we'll make it easy.
Are you saying this is open to me anytime? I can just come in and record my thoughts?
Yes. We have had this discussion, Father. But But I am very, very, very pleased to see how well everything has been going for you in Camden and all the great work that you've been doing, and how the community itself seems to have responded to you, because that's it's not always you can have a great priest and a great community and them not work together well, but you seem to be doing a very good job. And yes, Father Robbins, your parochial vicar, seems to be doing a great job as well. And it's lovely to, when I come in or leave, because we share this parking lot, I will oftentimes run into one and or both of you,
Yes.
or the staff folks, and everybody's so incredibly pleasant and aware, and
You might get a fake ticket out of it.
You might get a fake ticket out of it, but they're always looking out for you, and I truly appreciate that. And I have to say, actually, many times, similarly, they've helped me for something or another, and that's always been very kind. So thank you for doing such a great job, Father.
Oh yeah, and it's all the people. I'm just kind of there, and they kind of are the leaders, and they get things done. And our deacon too, Deacon Renee Zeiss, who's also the father of Mariani, is again knows the community and is just a fantastic preacher in Spanish, and just really covers us in a lot of different ways and encourages us in a lot of different ways. So we're doing some talleres or like a workshop for prayer over the summer. So we got a lot of good things that we're looking ahead to, and just excited to see what will be the next step.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you all for listening, and thank you both for being on the podcast, and we'll talk to you again next week. See you, everybody.